We the people unite.
Hey everybody, welcome to our Wednesday broadcast. We the people unite. We have a full panel today. Maureen, Mo, Anitra, Keisha, Andrea, and August. And of course me, Kim Page. So today we're going to talk about a pretty serious topic. Not that we don't every week, but this one has been in the news consistently this last week especially, and that's ICE. And the question today is, have they crossed the line? Are they now the state police? So we're going to talk about that today with some of the things they've been doing lately and some comparisons to some historical context to this. We're not going to go into a lot of it, but some. So if you're in the chat, say hello. You know, we love to talk with you. And if you're new, please like and subscribe. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and let's get the conversation going. To kick us off, though, we are going to Andrea. She had a topic that we didn't have time for last Friday, so we wanted to make sure Andrea got her topic in today. So I will turn it over to you.
Well, you know, this topic that I'm reading about reminds me. Somebody's not mine. Mine is down. This topic I'm reading about reminds me of Donald Trump and his goons, and it's orcas. I don't know if you've ever heard of orcas, and orcas. And if you want to show a picture of the orca,
sure.
It's one of the strongest mammals in the sea. And to me, the orcas, they are the apex predators that even great white sharks fear. And to me, it's against the minorities, the brown and black people. They want to be in charge of everyone. Orcas look like water pandas, but live up to their nickname, killer whale. This name originates from sailors who witnessed orcas preying on whales that were far larger than themselves. These sailors were likely among the first to encounter their aggressive, intelligent, and predatory nature up close. Don't let their cute faces and blubbery bodies fool you. Orcas are the apex predators of the deep. In honor of World Orca Day on July 14th, we're paying homage to the rulers of the ocean. And I want to say this article was written by Liana Tedesco, and they were honoring the orcas. And the picture was from the National Geographic. Great whites are often placed at the top of the ocean food chain. In reality, orcas can easily outperform sharks. They're some of the most underestimated hunters in the water. Despite their ability to kill prey, it also has been proven that orcas are the only known predators of great white sharks. Orcas have been witnessed hunting and killing great whites off the coast of South Africa, an unusual behavior that's rarely seen. Despite its abnormality, it is a testament to how unbelievably strong and fearless these animals can be. Orcas are titans compared to a great white shark. They weigh 3 times as much and are twice the length, making them an intimidating foe. They have a layer of blubber for insulation, but plenty of muscle can be found underneath that. An orca is built for speed and hitting power with a complex muscle system designed for swimming. They also have muscles that control their pectoral fins, and a muscle called the caudal peduncle. I might not be pronouncing that correctly, but it's spelled with ped and uncle, allowing them to make swift side-to-side movements in addition to being built like a tank. The estimated bite force of an orca is a whopping 19,000 psi. That's pound force per square inch, which means when they bite you, you know you've been bitten. I mean, just eat you up all at once. This is more than 6 times the bite force of a great white, which has a bite force of 4,000 in comparison to the 19,000 bite force. Alone makes this orca one of the strongest animals in the world. The only thing scarier than a 7,000-pound fish coming towards you is knowing the speed at which it's swimming. Orcas can reach speeds of nearly 34 miles per hour. That's the average speed zone for a car in a residential area. In the water, this results in a quick attack. The orca has speed and heft on the side, which means when they go on the side and they can really swim, and few prey can outrun both of them. They can cover a distance of 99 miles per day, giving them the added advantage of long distance hunting and foraging. Their smooth oval shaped body also helps them cut through the water with minimal resistance. At the end of their bodies, strong tails thrust them toward acting in the same way a propeller would be on a boat, the same way it would on a boat. The average cruising speed of an orca is 3 to 5 miles per hour. They choose their speed based on several factors, including age, environment, and whether they're actively hunting. The speed of an orca isn't only used for attacking prey. However, in Antarctica, orcas demonstrate a rarely seen behavior known as a wave washing, where the prey, such as a seal, is sitting on top of an ice float, and the orca will use his incredible speed to create waves and knock him off of where he's sitting, and it'll force him into the water, and the orca then has the ability to take over him, is what it actually does. And they very seldom travel alone. You'll find that orcas travel in packs. They travel in packs. They are very intelligent, and they are upon you before you know it. And so while I'm reading some of this is the true pack mentality. Once they're called pods. Once they're all together, it's called a group of pods. Once pods range drastically, with some as few as 5, which means they say they travel in as few as 5 and as many as 30. Large pods might have up to 100 orcas, depending on the region and the population. And so very seldom does anyone in the ocean escape an orca. And so when I've seen, and I'm trying to make a long story short so as not to bore you, but if you ever wanted to read it, you can find it on AOL. Orcas are the apex predators that even great white sharks fear. Because in watching the television, the past couple of days, and since Renée, left us unexpectedly, that's how they do. It reminded me of Trump and the ICE, that they surround the people, they jump on them all of a sudden, they overpower you, you can't do anything. And then if you go to the say the Supreme Court has given him ultimate power where they've never given that to a president before. So really, the question I'm wondering and want to know is, how do we get out of this mess? How do we get away from all of these orcas? That's what they remind me of, big sharks. And they got their face covered. You don't know they're coming. I'm really saddened about the state of our country and the state of our world right now. Here we want to take over Greenland. We want to go to Iran. We want to take over Venezuela. We want everything. And in some ways, I believe he's doing this all for Putin, that everything he's doing is in line with them taking over the world. Even though you don't hear much from China or from North Korea, all of them are working in cahoots with one another. We can't let them scare us, and that's what's happening. They're scared. I was almost in tears today when they told the story about the gentleman, and that they put the stuff in his eyes and then dragged him, and now he's permanently blind. I'm like, I'm like, what do we do? Even a person at my age, I'm gonna fight back, and I in some ways I feel like I should go get a gun myself now, so that I'm not gonna try to fight him. I'm gonna shoot him. I'm gonna shoot him. I'm not gonna.
We're gonna say a pew pew.
So, I wanted to tell you that because they do. I mean, next thing you know, they just convene on everybody, and the people in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they feel like they don't have nowhere to go. They got, I mean, it's like they said, 5 times the number of the police force. They plan on sending more. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, and and I'm gonna stay prayed up for all of us. I know we're gonna have to do something besides just watch. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to do more than just watch. I mean, if I see it happening, I'm gonna do whatever I can do, even if it's throwing, like they said in the old days, throw some hot grits on you, throw some boiling hot syrup on you. Go get something. We got to do something. We can't let these people take over our country. We can't let them. Donald Trump is out of control. I think he's crazy, and it really is. It's Article 2, Section 4 of the the word I'm trying to say, but and is also 25 of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution is where we can get rid of him and his goonies. Everybody can be killed. Even a knife. These orcas think they strong, but I bet you if I get a knife, I can cut some fish. That's all it is to me. It's a fish. And that's all Donald is. He's just a fish. He stinks too. Remember, everybody says he stinks and fish stink. Okay, that was
so thank you, Andrea. Thank you. It's a great metaphor. My only correction would be, because I'm a huge fan of
I love orcas.
Dolphins and orcas. They're mammals, actually.
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know they're mammals.
And I think sharks go after people. I kind of feel like they get what they need to get to eat, but theirs is basically just for eating. Whereas I think sharks get a little.
They watch over everything and make sure they keep all of the other mammals in the ocean are safe and stuff, and so they only attack to eat. But I just watching them attack, and that's what it seemed like to me, watching them go after everybody.
Well, let's continue that conversation, because that's our focus for today.
Okay.
Because what happened to Renée Good has started to embolden these people, and that's what we've seen since. And so now the question is, have they crossed the line? Are they now state police? And what can we do to stop it? That's the question, because the experts are saying this is the time. We are not fully in a dictatorship yet, because if we were, none of us would be on air right now. But we are marching straight into it. And this is where it starts. And we're going to talk about some historical context on this. So let's watch a couple clips, and then we'll continue this conversation.
Well, when I read your piece, I guess the headline is ICE agents are completely, utterly out of control. Is that a fair assessment, or am I being hyperbolic here?
I think that's something that we talked to many law enforcement experts for this story, and that is one of the first things they said, is that they are using, in the videos that we showed them, especially these ones where they're using these banned tactics like chokeholds and neck restraints. They said this is bad policing. These agents are out of control. This is something that if I, as a police officer, did this, I would certainly be disciplined for it, and it's dangerous for everyone involved, not just the people who are being put in these very dangerous chokeholds. That this is not something that they even recommend for law enforcement to be grappling on the ground in this way. It's a very dangerous situation, and something that most law enforcement have moved away from, and ICE's own policy bans this as well.
So this is the beginning, I think, of them. There's no accountability. We know that. They are not trained. And I'm going to show another clip in a little bit about a journalist who actually went through the process of becoming an ICE agent, and there's absolutely no background checks. So
the timing of it got cut down to like so many days.
Yeah.
47.
There's absolutely no training.
And the beginning was actually when they first went into LA to me. And they're just trying city by city as he tries to work his way to try to take over and steal the election again, and make sure that he's always in office.
Before you go on to that next piece or next video, let's ask ourselves the question: where's the police been?
I know, I said that.
So where's the police been? Because I noticed that ICE been everywhere. They've been this place and that. Are the chief of police or the government or the mayors telling them to stay away? Because I'm pretty sure that it would be very tangible, and it would be some real gunfight going on if the police were around. How would they handle it? Knowing that citizens are being dragged, blind, snatched out of cars. You notice they're never around.
And Governor
they're the antithesis of each other, except for they're supposed to be doing the same job. So I think they confused on what to do if they do get together and who to protect.
Well, I'm going to answer that question when it's August on the Move. Back over to you, Kim.
Well, even Governor Walsh said he could call the National Guard, and I'm like, what are you waiting on?
Well, and we've talked about that a little bit, right? I think we talked about that last week. We know what would happen if that happens, and it's going to be bloodshed in the streets.
It's going to be that anyway.
So that could be what they're holding off on. I don't know. So that's a great discussion. So let's just watch a couple more clips, and I'm not going to show this entire clip, but everyone's talking about this right now. So let's listen to a little bit of our friend.
Rights. We wouldn't have gotten the Civil Rights Act passed without the community defense work that they did. We don't need to be violent, but we should have armed, I think it said protection or defense coalitions or something. I can't remember. TikTok cut it off here. I'm sorry about that. I'm not an expert on the Black Panthers by any means, but I did want to read a section from Revolutionary Nonviolence by Reverend James M. Lawson Jr., who is part of the civil rights movement. Because he has a section here where he defines violence, and I kind of like what he has to say about it. Because when I think of the Black Panthers, and other similar groups, I think it's really good to remember that self-defense is not violence. I also personally think that property destruction is not violence, and I've talked about that pretty extensively because there have been a number of authors. The book "This Is an Uprising" discusses this concept. It's very much
I'm gonna
capitalism,
pass that a little bit.
right? The public perception. What does the overarching culture believe about destruction of property? So while I understand that vandalism has been utilized in all kinds of nonviolent resistance movements in the United States, the press, especially, and those in power are going to couch any kind of destruction of property with that term, with that perception of it being violence. But you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so let me read this section here. So that said, I will define violence. Violence is the use of power to harass, intimidate, injure, shackle, kill, or destroy a person or persons. It is accomplishing a purpose that is negative, right? Self-defense, not negative. Violence is intimidation, harassment to persons or a village or a nation with the result that we deprive the people we're pushing against of their right to shape their own lives and their access to the things that make life possible. So under that definition, sexism is a form of violence. Racism is a form of violence. Those are structural forms of violence. Slavery was kept in place by violence. Sexism is kept in place through the abuse of and violence against women and children. Violence is an abuse of power. It is a misuse of power. And my contention is that while many people have the power to do such things, I maintain they have no right to do such things. They are usurping rights. And remember that the Declaration of Independence declares that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, that all are endowed with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is power, and violence is the abuse of power. Violence is not simply physically beating up, injuring, or killing. It's about intimidation. It's about harassment. It is about seeing other human beings as less than human. That's why I made a video yesterday about dehumanization and how important it is for us to remember our humanity, for us to remember the humanity of people on the other side, and to remind them of both as well, right? Nothing is more dangerous to the United States and to its 300 plus million people than the public conversation, the education that teaches us that we are an exceptional people and we're not like other members of the human race or the human family. What a good point. American exceptionalism is an indoctrination of the American people to dehumanize people around the world, people outside our borders and immigrants in our borders. Violence destroys rather than builds. Violence prevents human beings from putting the issues on the table and conjuring up the courage to look at them from the perspective of seeking a solution, of healing, and the sort of compromises that lead you a little bit in the right direction. Violence destroys and hates. Violence against violence escalates violence. It doesn't solve any of the human problems. I have named sexism and racism as violence. I can add materialism and greed and other isms, and these have taught many of us not to respect one another and to be suspicious of our own worth. It is not common sense to believe that I have been created in the likeness of the universe, in the likeness of life, and the likeness of God, but you haven't. And you haven't, and you haven't, and you haven't. It makes me insecure and suspicious of my own worth if I believe that other people don't exemplify the creative force that I claim for myself. Such a good point. Do you remember when I talked about how under fascism?
I want to leave that right there. This was so on point, I thought. The violence, and it ties right into what we were just talking about. So how do we fight this in a nonviolent way? Or can we?
Yeah, I am seeing, she's reading from the Black Panther. I'm watching Carl Kuglinski the other day. He's talking Malcolm X. People are talking about by all means necessary. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Especially with Martin Luther King Day coming up this weekend, people have been speaking on it, and I think it's very interesting. And I think people are becoming, I don't like to use the word radicalized. They stop giving a F. They don't care. We can see where this is going, and if we don't fight back, violence meets violence, and that's where it's going to come to. Now, I'm not saying that I want that to happen. I don't want people to be unaliving each other and all that kind of stuff. However, walk up on the wrong people and it's going to happen.
Well, did you not see? They had the kid on the ground. The person was on the ground. The person couldn't move, and he was kneeing him. One of the other officers had to hold his leg to stop him from doing it. And as soon as he took his hand away, he kneed him some more. So that goes to show you it is about the punk ass shit they do. Okay? A punk does that. Untie the kid and let the kid fight and see what happened.
After George Floyd was killed in that very state, just like that.
This is just disgusting.
It is.
And it is violence. Words are violence. I experience it. I'm just going to put it out there. As a Black woman, I experience it almost every time I get a new job or I go somewhere, and it's subtle and I don't think some of it might be me. It might not just because I'm Black, but then after I meet somebody and 2 minutes later, I get these daggers. I'm finding out, how can it be anything but that? Because you haven't had time for me to tick you off yet. So what is it? And it's scary. And then as women in general, I'm not just gonna say Black women, children, we're getting abused. Everything's supposed to be okay. The country, I'm so overwhelmed right now.
Well, I don't
Overwhelmed.
know if you notice when you go into the grocery stores how depending on what area you're in, and they don't say excuse me. They just walk all in front of you and don't care what you in their way.
But
you
just
don't
to
have to
see
do nothing.
men. I'm talking about men
Men,
dragging
it's men
women,
and women doing it.
manhandling women.
They're
Would you want them to handle your mother like that, or your
Right.
sister
Your
like that?
sister.
It seems like they like detach themselves from reality. It's like they get so dogmatic that they don't even try to, have a bit of humanity. But don't think Trump is going to be there to save you.
That's right.
Trust me.
But it's
What
the men
goes
and the
around
women.
comes around. I
The
just want everybody
women
to
feel
understand that. What goes around comes around. And trust
I want to share a
your
story.
time is coming.
Excuse me, August.
Go
I
ahead.
just want to share a story about my grandma. And I was little when this happened. And I was brought up by fierce women. And she was abducted from her car by a policeman, accusing her of was getting upset with her because she didn't have her driver's license. And he was abusing. And my grandmother, she knocked him where it hurt. And they took her to the police station, and she stood up for herself. I don't know why, but I just really remember that story and thinking, go, Grandma. And not that you want that to happen. And, but I do think that there's a lot of abuse with women in so many different ways for some reason and no respect. I even had that happen to me from a highway patrolman after I dropped my husband many years ago at the airport. And I was driving to be with my family. And all of a sudden I see his bright lights behind me. And I thought, what? There's something wrong. I'm not speeding. He wanted to let me know that my back light was out on my car. And I said, okay, I'll go get it fixed. I didn't realize, no, he says, ma'am, you got to get out of your car right now and come and sit in my car. And excuse me. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't know you. He says, I'm a policeman. I said, I don't care who you are. I don't go into any stranger's car, and I haven't done anything wrong. And I told you I would get that fixed. You could give me the citation or whatever, but no.
Good for you, Maureen.
And you know what? That was at a time where there were some highway patrol. There was some man. I don't think it was related to what happened to me.
There was a serial killer in California.
Yes.
That was pulling women over.
Yeah.
Pretending to be a cop.
Yeah.
The Hillside Stranglers did it. Ted Bundy did it. A lot of people use those ruses.
The only reason I bring these two situations up, that was a long time ago, but I do remember that trauma. I cried all the way to my parents' house after that. I didn't show him that I was going to cry. And I just was shaking all over. And this brings back these kinds of traumas, doesn't it? But anyway, I felt like I wanted to share that.
Of
And
course.
So
ICE is
wanna
taking
say-
advantage of some of the women already.
We do.
What you saying?
And I want to say to Anitra's point about violence begetting violence. Number one, we live in a country that was founded on violence. So the idea that we're going to get out of this situation without violence, I don't think that's going to happen. Two, I want to think about when you have your foot on someone's neck and they don't think they have any other option to save themselves, usually violence is the last resort. And we're getting to that point where we as a people who are not in power feel like we have someone's foot on our necks. And violence is going to be the outcome. Think about the number of women who, before we had divorce laws that were fair, killed their fucking husbands. Like, you know what? I can't divorce this man. There's no outlet. I tried all the ways to make this marriage work. This man is abusive. He's violent. I'm just going to put a little arsenic in his food every day and we'll call it a day. We'll wait till he drops dead.
Got a whole show about it.
Yep. The whole show about it. People on their deathbeds are like, oh yeah, I killed my husband. Tell their nurse in the nursing home.
And to do it again.
Also think about people who were enslaved and were the recipients of all kinds of violence that we can't even imagine. And the way they saved themselves and the way they got out of it was violence. So if the state responds to us with violence and gives us no other outlet, violence is going to be the outcome.
That's right.
I don't see any way out of this other than that, unless they change the way they are behaving.
And it doesn't look that way.
Very true. And if we go back to human nature, it's fight or flight or freeze, right? So we fight, we flight, or we freeze. If there's no place to run, actually, I agree. We're backed into a corner. There are no other options. And before I show this next clip, I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but history has given us a lot of lessons on this. And we're not listening. We're not paying attention.
Because of the hubris.
I don't think we're not.
Expand on that, Anitra.
Because once again, we think as a nation, we've kind of formed to think that, even if I don't feel like I think that, but ethnocentrism, everybody's there is wrong if it doesn't meet our standard. And it doesn't come over here. What was done over there doesn't come over here. So we're going to do these things, but it's not coming home to roost. And it has, and it will again. And when they come, it's going to be brutal. And I'm 50 years old, I'm probably going to be here to see it. And so we have a hubris about us that not in my neighborhood. This doesn't happen in Cloverdale.
It's a clutch your pearls moment.
Yeah. And that is what's happening. So when we look at it from a historical context, it's been well documented that these trajectories have occurred over and over and over again. And so on this one, unchecked authority always expands, because once an agency operates with limited oversight, or in this case with little to none, and ambiguous mandates, authority rarely contracts. It doesn't contract on its own, it expands. And so emergency, or these exceptional powers, become routine. Internal accountability is replaced by loyalty-based enforcement. Legal gray zones are treated as permission. And so there's a lot of comparisons that we can make to that. But let's listen. I thought this was interesting. And I want to hear what you guys think.
I can also point of view of the people who say, yeah, but you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit. ICE are villains. And now people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right? Because if you get arrested by a cop, you're allowed to ask the cop, what is your name and badge number? And you could film that cop. If you get arrested by an ICE agent, you have no such right. They're wearing a mask. They don't have to tell you. It's also very ugly to watch someone shoot a U.S. citizen, especially a woman, in the face.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm not that guy. I don't know what he thought. And again, this is a guy who had almost been run over, but it just looked horrific to me. I mean, when people say it's justifiable because the car hit him, it seemed like she was kind of turning the car away.
Podcaster Joe Rogan criticizing the Trump administration's targeted ICE operations and the agency's aggressive enforcement tactics.
And you know, Willie, it's when you have somebody like Joe Rogan who supported the president talking about, in Joe Rogan's words, Gestapo-type tactics, talking about the masks, talking about how these people aren't even like police officers, because with police officers, they pull up,
a process.
You talk to them, there's a process, you can see who they are, you can communicate back and forth. Everything about this seems to spike tensions on both sides. And I will tell you, looking at the videos yesterday following the killing of Renée Good, it was hard not to come to the conclusion that they may be trying to ramp up tensions. ICE may be intentionally trying to ramp up tensions. They want this confrontation, despite the fact we've shown polls in the last hour that show that something like 46% of Americans now want ICE abolished. We've shown polls that since Kristi Noem took over ICE in February, the approval rating for the agency has gone down 30%, and barely a third of Americans think that ICE shooter that killed Renée Good by firing point blank 2 shots from the side at her, they think that force was not justified. And yet they're ramping it up, Willie. It doesn't seem to make much sense at all. Here's YouGov, only 30% think that shooting was justified. So if you were listening to podcasts and watching TV shows and living in a world, reading things online where you think that you are with America and America is with you on point blank shooting of Renée Good, you're wrong.
Yep, you're wrong. You're dead wrong.
Well, I just have to say the 30%, I hope it's not you next, okay? You feel that it was justified. I hope you're not the next one down, because guess what? These bullets and these ICE agents don't care who you may be. All right. And just to call it out, Joe Rogan, really? You finally woke up? You the one who promoted this. You was all up Trump's ass like a thong promoting this.
She said what she said.
And
even
yes,
the 20%,
what I said.
Even the 20% that say they not sure.
It's crazy.
I don't buy it.
I don't either.
Yeah. Too little, too late. Rogan. Rogan promoted Trump. It is too late yet at the same time, I'm glad that he's speaking up. I am. Same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, because he does have a lot of followers.
And the Supreme Court has stopped this right now.
And even Nick Fuentes, as much as I'm not his favorite, he tears him up. I do enjoy watching him do that, and then I move on. But it's something. We're at that precipice, and it got here a little quicker than I thought. But there's that one guy who went off about his Second Amendment rights. Will say he got 1 million freaking views, and that tells me that there are people who are down. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because it's too scary.
Go ahead.
They just don't. I'm saying they're just too scared. We have families and stuff. It's like somebody trying to invade your home. This is our home, and we have an invader. And unfortunately, it's coming from inside the house. But it don't matter if your child goes rogue. You got to do what you got to do.
Well, and we continue to be gaslit. We continue to see the administration come out and say, you know, why are you fighting us, Minnesota? We're just here to keep your city safe, right?
Yeah.
And so what history also tells us that unchecked power does not announce itself as tyranny. It presents itself as necessity. It presents itself as we're just trying to keep you safe. God, where have we heard that before?
Trump said he's going to take care of all the women, remember? We're going to take care of you.
Yeah, like they took care of Renée Good. Yeah.
I saw her last name was Good, for God's sakes. I'm just so mad. It makes me so disgusted.
I saw a post on Threads earlier that said something like, dear Italian, Irish, and Greek Americans, 100 years ago, this would have been you. So if you're cheering this on, think twice.
That's
powerful.
Good.
Powerful.
That's powerful.
Right.
People forget.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's, I'm going to just play this one. Just show what happened. You talked about this young man earlier. I won't play a lot of it, but some of it.
Live simulcast on our sister station, Fox 11 Plus. I'm Christine Devine. We have this story here. A 21-year-old anti-ICE protester has been blinded after being shot during a local rally against the shooting death of Renée Good in Minnesota. That Friday night in Santa Ana turned violent. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez live in downtown Santa Ana. Christina, you spoke to this protester.
Yeah, this morning while he was still in the hospital, he has just been released. He identifies himself as Caden Rumler. He's blind in one eye, he says, and he's sharing photos of his injuries. And I'm going to warn you, they're disturbing, but he wants to share them because he says he wants people to understand the difference between what he's saying happened and what Department of Homeland Security is saying. We also have as much video as we could of the incident. So here, take a look. Federal agents approach protesters during a Friday night rally in Santa Ana. Grab someone holding a loudspeaker and pull him away as other protesters move up, including one wearing a dark shirt who doubles over. The other protester wearing a white shirt struggles with officers. The officers then grab the protester with the black shirt, Caden Rumler, who sent me these photos from the hospital where he says he is being treated for a serious eye injury, which he describes in a statement read by a fellow member of Dare to Struggle, the organization that was protesting Friday.
I heard a bang and suddenly I was on my knees. The DHS agent dragging me towards the building. I was gripping the front of my collar.
Over the phone, Caden explains he was taken inside the government building and eventually transported to a hospital where he remains after losing his eye. This is the moment he says an agent shot him.
Shot at point blank range in the face with a pepper ball bullet.
The other protesters seemed struggling with officers also speaking to media.
I was released from Santa Ana jail after being held for almost 3 days without knowing my charge until the morning of my release.
DHS responding to Fox 11 saying this was a mob throwing rocks, bottles, and fireworks, and that, quote, one of the rioters who was arrested for disorderly conduct was taken to the hospital for a cut and was released that night. Orange County Supervisor Vicente Sarmiento says he was there and that local authorities cannot get any details from the feds about what you see happening in this video.
We can't hold anybody responsible. That's the frustration that people have, is that they're seeing this unfold before their eyes with little to no accountability.
With no
What do you mean you can't?
They all need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. Listen, white men and young white men, I need you to hear what we have to say. You still don't have jobs. Your mom and you are paying triple than what you have with these tariffs. Donald Trump and his entire administration have not done not one damn thing for you but harassed, but put you out of classes, harassed your family, and charged you on top of it to pay for their BS. Wake up.
Exactly. So let's just take one step back, because this seems to be the trajectory. As I said, we heard Rogan talk about the Gestapo. It's interesting, though. The Gestapo didn't wear masks.
Yeah, because they didn't care.
Because they didn't care, right?
Right.
This is, you know, this is what they were doing, you know, in Germany at that time. So they were acting with impunity. They were only accountable to Hitler at the time. There were different, it was interesting when I did a little research on this. You had the group that was all about surveillance and intimidation. You had Nazi policing, who were the open force with the arrests. So we have surveillance intimidation happening right now. We have psychological pressure happening right now. We have fear that's being used right now with what we're seeing in the streets, so that people self-censor, because this is what they're looking for. Control before resistance, because they know when the people rise up, it's going to be a completely different story. So they try to quash it before any of that happens. Fear of spectacle. We're seeing that. Judicial erosion. We're seeing that. Targets are going to broaden. They already have, because they started with so-called immigration enforcement. What did those federal agents, they didn't have any right to approach any of those citizens out there. Now, I don't know. I wasn't there. Were they throwing rocks? Were they throwing? I don't know. I can't say any of that. But still, it did not. Their response was not. Was not legal, right? So what we're witnessing: visible intimidation, weak oversight, expanding targets, and fear as a warning. We are walking right into a total dictatorship, and people need to wake up.
And right after the things that because I used to kind of dabble in trying to be a historian in that area, but never so much information. But after that, they said, well, everybody's got to have a blouse shine. So everybody gets the blouse shine, which is basically paperwork saying I can work, so I'm not going to get deported. Then the blouse shine was no good. So they keep giving you ways, and then that keeps these people peaceful while they ship off to others. Then they come back, take your blouse shine or your pass, and then the other people get to work, but they got something called something else. And the next thing you know, there's nobody else left to come and freaking get.
So let me answer your question, J Camp 752. You don't agree with ICE, but also you think these protesters could do better, don't you? Um, Keisha kind of spelled it out for you. When you have your back against the wall, it must not be happening in your neighborhood. I'm pretty sure when you start seeing your neighbor, your child, your siblings out there on the ground in the snow being dragged, come back and let us know how you feel.
They picked that young man up out of the crowd and brought him to them. He wasn't coming toward them. They brought him up there.
And kids aren't going to school because they're scared, because their parents are scared. Businesses are not making as much money because people aren't going because they're home scared. People are literally in their homes trying to pretend like they're not home, so they don't have to worry about ICE coming to their door and causing problems. Like, ICE is traumatizing the people in Minneapolis, and they're prepared to do this across the country. So what else are people supposed to do when you have law enforcement saying, well, we don't have anything we can charge them with. We don't have any proof.
It's easy for us to sit here and play Monday morning, and today is Wednesday evening quarterback. But until you have to walk in their shoes and experience that, trust me, you won't be saying protesters need to do better. You'll be saying protesters need to do more. And I need to get my ass up out of here and try to help out. I got to lift my hat to the smitten kittens. At least, hey, that's a porn store. And they giving people food and baby Pampers. What the hell are we doing? Come on. Let's wake up and call a spade a spade.
Yeah, that was an amazing
and that's
today. That was amazing.
Yeah. And for the most part, 90% of the protests we've seen have been peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they are peaceful. But you're right, you can only push people so far. And in those peaceful protests, people are just filming and they are getting attacked by ICE.
And he don't know how he feel. He's a white man.
Yeah, we can do the same to the
He's
answer.
taking up a whole lot of oxygen in the room, but basically, you know.
One at a time, guys. One at a time.
It's a lot of
I'm
nonsense.
just going to say to him, please like and subscribe. And you could come back and argue with us on Friday at Voices from the Edge. I would love to have a word with you. Please show up, but you got to subscribe. All right. And anyone else, we love your comments. Thank you.
And I pulled myself out of homelessness and poverty, sir. But somebody else told me this at the time. They said, I hope when you get there, you change your views on how you think about things. I'm here. They ain't really changed that much.
Yeah. I want to respond one more thing, Jay Camp. We have seen protesters recording and being antagonistic. And the reason is because ICE is not following the law. Mm-hmm. ICE is abducting people off the streets without due process. They're abducting citizens now. And even though they were undocumented immigrants, they had no right to do so without due process. And they are just randomly picking people up. So it's really hard.
They are violating the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Jay Camp sound like he is an ICE person.
Well,
no, I think there's
we arguing with a fool.
We have to have these discussions, you guys. We have to have these discussions.
Yeah.
So
we do need to have
okay. So we have common ground.
I'm also not up
So
for both
let's-
sides this.
Yeah.
This
So
is
we're
not
at
a both
common
sides
ground
issue.
now.
We're not having a debate.
Yeah.
We're at common ground.
So
ICE sucks.
to a fool.
And if you are an ICE agent, watch your back.
Because
So-
they're going to start kicking y'all off.
I thought this was interesting because we're starting to hear more of what we thought. So let's.
What happens when ICE hires agents with minimal screening, then sends them into the streets, masked and armed? We look now at the agency's hiring practices as it surges agents to Minneapolis and other cities. We begin with an independent journalist who applied for an ICE job and was offered it without even a background check. Laura Jadid wrote about her experience in a piece published Tuesday by Slate magazine headlined, "You've heard about who ICE is recruiting. The truth is far worse. I'm the proof," was the headline. She begins her piece. The plan was never to become an ICE agent. The plan when I went to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Career Expo in Texas last August was to learn what it was like to apply to be an ICE agent. Who wouldn't be curious, she said. Laura Jadid joins us now from Portland, Oregon. Laura, would you take it from there? Explain what exactly you did, what this fair was, and then how you applied to work for ICE and what happened.
Absolutely. So the hiring event, basically you brought your resume in, you handed it over, they were going to do an interview, and they were promising on-the-spot hiring to where you could in fact walk out with your $50,000 bonus that day, possibly. I went in, I handed in my resume, which was, I did a skills-based resume. I'm a veteran, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. So on the surface, the resume looked pretty good. Had a very brief interview, took all of 6 minutes. They didn't ask very many questions. And then I left, assuming I would never hear back, because I'm a very Googleable person. I have an unusual name. I'm the only Laura Jadid on the internet. And I make no secret of how I feel about ICE and Trump and all of it. So I was not expecting several days later to receive a tentative offer. I missed it in my inbox and it sunk to the bottom, which means that I never filled out the paperwork they requested. I never accepted the tentative offer. I never filled out my background check paperwork. I never signed the affidavit saying I committed no domestic violence crimes, none of it. A few weeks later, I got a message from LabCorp saying that ICE wanted me to do a drug test, and I went ahead and did that. I was pretty sure I wouldn't pass. I'd partaken in legal cannabis 6 days before the test, but why not waste some of their money, right? And then 9 days after that, I decided I wanted to, I was curious. Had they processed the drug test yet. So I logged onto the ICE hiring portal, and what I found was that not only did the drug test not seem to be relevant, I was listed as having joined ICE as of 3 days earlier. I had listed that I had accepted the offer. They had offered me a final position as a deportation officer. My background check was listed as completed 3 days in the future from when I was looking at it. So it seems like the answer to the question, who are they hiring, is they don't know.
Wow. Oh my God.
Can you write in the piece?
You guys can look that up and watch the rest of it. But
what if they hire the denorganizer? Now we all got to get our heads locked off. I'm just saying.
All right. I love that J. Kemp is around. However, J. Kemp, we have Voices from the Edge on Fridays. We would love to sit around and talk with you. But right now, we're trying to focus on some major issues to call out what's going on in the streets. We agree that ICE is not doing the right thing to people. Okay? Back over to you, Kim. Like and subscribe.
Absolutely. So we talked about targets broadening. We talked about what they're doing. It's escalating. Public disengagement and radicalization increases typically in this because people lose hope, people lose faith, and we can do all the comparisons to Germany on that. But one of the things that that is escalating, that I'm not sure if you all have heard about, but this falls directly in line with history. And so let's hear a little bit about that here.
Oh, girl.
About ICE going door to door conducting raids in Minnesota. I'll let you Google Castle Doctrine on your own. I want to talk here about the Fourth Amendment. We all know that a big part of what ICE is doing now is, well, trying to distract you from the fact that the Trump regime won't release the Epstein files, but also they're trying to move the needle. They're trying to slowly take away your rights and have you accept that as the new normal. It is illegal, it is unconstitutional for law enforcement to enter your home without a valid search warrant signed by a judge. Not some fucking ICE administrative warrant. That's not a real warrant. A search warrant signed by a judge. We've seen ICE violate the Fourth Amendment, both here in Oregon and in Minnesota, entering into homes where they did not have a legal right to be, and abducting people without arrest warrants. That's a whole other conversation. An administrative warrant is not a bench warrant. An administrative warrant is not signed by a real judge. Immigration judges are not real judges. They are lawyers who work for Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice. They are not part of the judicial branch at all. Okay, but when it comes to ICE conducting these raids, we are not going to start to accept that in the United States of America that fucking any member of law enforcement can just enter into your private residence. And unfortunately, it's at a point now where the news stations in Minnesota are having to remind people of that fact. Yeah, 2025 in the United States of America, the local TV station is having to remind you that federal agents cannot violate your constitutional rights.
Reminder of your rights if ICE does come to your door. According to the city, ICE needs a judge-signed warrant with your name and address to come inside. Also, you can ask the agent to show you the warrant through the window or under the door. And if there is not a valid warrant, you have the right to keep your door closed. We have more differences between a judicial and immigration warrant on our website.
That warning had to be issued because ICE is breaking the law over and over again in Minnesota. And again, they've done it here in Oregon as well. If ICE comes to your door and they do not have a judicial warrant with your name and your address on it, do not open the fucking door. The minute you open the door to talk to any member of law enforcement, you've now given them entry and they're just going to bust in. Don't open the door. It is perfectly within your rights. Film them through the door, ask them to hold the warrant up to the window, and you have a right to confirm that it is a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Otherwise, they can fuck the hell off. If you want to know what it looks like to defend your constitutional rights when ICE shows up and tries to bully their way in, because ICE has no intention of upholding the rule of law. They are there to violate your rights, not to protect them. I'm just going to show you one example from Minnesota.
Can we help you? I don't care who you are.
Okay, then go away. No, you're trespassing. You're trespassing. This is our property. I don't need to do anything.
I was really curious and wondering why they were here.
I'm going to stop this one. This one is a little bit older one. I wanted to show that, though. What we showed yesterday, unfortunately, is that ICE is entering homes. They're forcing their way in now. They're forcing their way in with guns.
Nothing's gonna stand. I know they're gonna plan on going to court, but it's not gonna stand. And they're gonna come in the wrong house. They're gonna learn real quick. F around and find out.
Yeah, I think that a lot about New York. Like, we in New York City are very careful and cautious about our safety. Not really big on answering the door for people we are not expecting. So if they come here and try that, it is not going to go well. They're going to meet the wrong person.
I live in a state that has you don't have to have a carry permit. You can have guns in the house. It's whatever. So they're gonna mess around. But they're not gonna come here because I'm in a red state. So not coming
It's
here.
kind of dangerous because here in Long Island, New York, we have 3 doors. We have a front, a side, and a back door. You never know how we can peep on you. So you got to be careful. So, yeah.
So I'm going to just say this few things before we move on to August on the Move and close out for today. But the historians are really comparing what's happening now to historical events. And so surveillance and intimidation come first, which you're saying. Normalization follows. And that's why it's so important that we cannot allow any of this to be normalized. We have to continue to speak out. We have to force the media, and we have to rely on independent media, I think, at this point, because open violence becomes easier to justify later. And what was that? Why is that? Oh, that's August. Okay. So the most dangerous phase is not when brutality is obvious. It's when fear quietly works. And so we've talked about that. When people start to the fear starts setting in and people start giving up.
They're not going again.
Yeah. So we'll continue the conversation because as we know, as we've said, as we believe, this is going to get worse. So we have to stay on top. We have to keep saying the truth. We have to keep fighting for our rights. So let's go to August on the Move.
Hey, folks, to all of our mothers, women of power, and also sisters and aunties out there. We've been called hens, but we all know that we hold the power because guess what? Men always going to need us. Keep that in mind. But I posed the question earlier regarding where's the police? So I wanted to play this tape for you, and here's the answer.
You do this in Philly, we're going to arrest you. You come here with your masks and you start harassing our people, you will be placed under arrest. You will be prosecuted. This is what moral clarity looks like. Let's play it.
Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Bilal, the sheriff for the city and county of Philadelphia. And I say her name, Renée Good. Renée Good. Renée Good. Renée Good. Renée Good. This should not have happened, but we're here today. Let know that law enforcement professionals, real ones, not the fake made up ICE, probably Trump's new army to attack citizens of the United States. Did you hear what I said? No law enforcement professional wears a mask. None. None. Those that come into our communities wearing a mask to commit crime, thank God for our district attorney, Larry Krasner, who say he's going to lock them up. And I'm saying now, we are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested there. No whisk away for them to hide you. None of that here. None of that here. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying fleeing because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way. Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles invoking an action that is illegal. No, we don't. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made up fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made up fake wannabe law enforcement, because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you. And the fake, whatever they call them, because I can't say the name, but the criminal in the White House would not be able to keep you from going to jail. Renée Good should be here today. And to her family, we are saying law enforcement professionals are not the ones here in this city that would do that. But here's the last thing that I will say. Law enforcement professionals around the country do their job. And we have been fighting for years to build that bridge between us and our communities. You have one negative nutcase that causes this problem, and now we all have to fight again to let people know law enforcement works with communities. These crimes would not be down if we didn't have communities work with us. Thank you.
It should also be noted that
So Chicago to Illinois to Minnesota, we hope that the law enforcement stand up and continue to do their jobs. Hopefully that hit home. I just only want to end tonight. I'm gonna keep it short because we are in overtime. I always try to bring the happier side of things, and hopefully this one can definitely touch your heart. Pass it on.
That was beautiful.
Back over to you, Kim.
Thank you, August. Yes, I had watched the clip that was from Philly. Where was that from? The police department? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Philly Police Department.
Yeah, that was powerful. Powerful. And that I love seeing stories where people just show their kindness. in such unexpected ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm seeing people going out of their way to do it lately. Those that want to, they're being extra.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's see, what was Linda saying? I want to make sure.
That's what I was looking at.
What was Linda? People had to carry their papers in Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't do that here. This is America.
Right.
So 250 years ago, the founding fathers predicted this. That's why they gave us the Second Amendment. Well, they tried to give us 3 branches of government too. I love, what did I see a post before we end that said, you're right, she should have complied. And you're right, maybe, you should comply when they come take your guns. And then you should comply when they put you in a car, in a freight car. Or
in a box, yeah, I saw that.
In a box, yeah. It's like, that was powerful. That was powerful.
And when you put your hands up, put your hands down, or you don't do nothing, you still get shot anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't. Any last words from anybody before we head out? All right, guys, we'll be here Friday. Join us for Voices from the Edge.
And Jazzy, we miss you tonight. You kind of quiet.
Yeah.
But thank you to Michelle and Linda and Lindy and Ryan and even J Camp for contributions. We appreciate
Yeah. We like all the comments. We like to engage with people who join us. So,
have some
all right, guys.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful night. Join us on Friday, please. We'll see you later. Say goodbye. We love you.
Bye. Thank you.
We the people unite.